Welcome to another episode of Nature is Sovereignty. Today I have on Scott and Mallory Sibley. They are the creators of Shamory, a Bitcoin card game that was recently rated STEM's Best of 2021 by Newsweek and STEM.org. They originally got connected to BBB through Isiah Jackson's Bitcoin Kids Camp, where they used the game of Shamory as a fun way to teach kids Bitcoin mining and how the blockchain works. Today, I have on a dynamic, imaginative couple who is bringing financial literacy to the ones who matter, the youth, and making it enjoyable along the way. So I hope you enjoy as well. Welcome to another episode of Nature is Sovereignty. Today I have on Scott Sibley and Mallory Sibley, the creators of Shamory Card Game. Shamory is the first and only STEM authenticated Bitcoin card game that exists today. And it was rated Best of STEM 2021 by Newsweek and STEM.org. You can't get more official than that. So it's an absolute pleasure to have you guys on.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thanks. We're excited to be here.
Thank you. So first, just walk us through the game. Like, how do we play this card game?
Sure. Let me take it.
Yeah, go for it.
So it's played similar to the game of memory. I guess for those who are watching, so here's a video or image of it. But essentially, it's really based around characters that we created. They're kind of little Bitcoin monsters, if you will. As we kind of started learning more about Bitcoin and how the mining process works, popped in our head that really, if you boil down to it as simple as possible, is two things. There's a nonce and a target. If those two things sync up, for lack of better words, the block is mined, and we go on from there. And so what's that analogy popped in our heads? It was really similar to the game of memory where, you find two cards, those two things match, and then that person gets to take those away, and they're the winner of those two cards. So the gameplay is very similar to the game of memory where there's a bunch of cards laid down. Those are the nonce cards. There's a target card, a stack of them. One gets flipped over. Players roll a dice. And as they roll it, they get the turn to flip over one of those nonces to try to find that target. So really, they're using their mental energy to remember where those characters are each time to be able to go back and find that one. So those two sync up. You mine a block, they get a reward. The objective is to get from the Genesis block to a block height of 10. But along the way, there's attacks and difficulty adjustments that can happen too to kind of spice things up just a little bit. So that's an easy, high-level explanation of how it's played. But essentially, if you know how to play memory, you can play the game. You don't need to know anything else going into it.
Right. No, that's a great concept. And you're teaching Bitcoin mining in a fun and interactive way.
Yeah.
So that's something that's good for all ages. Is there like an age limit or range for this? Who can play?
Yeah, so anyone can play. We've actually heard as young as 3 playing. We find that to be pretty impressive. We have a toddler ourselves. She plays a miniature version, but I would really say ages 4 to 5, probably closer to 5, all the way through,
Adults.
Yeah, the end adults. And another thing that's really great about it that Scott actually skipped over was that it's also a collaborative game. So at the end of the game, whoever has the most Bitcoin rewards individually wins, but really everyone's working together to create the blockchain to a block height of 10. So if your blockchain makes it to a height out of 10, everyone is really the winner because you work together to do that. If along the way the attack chain, gets longer, then everyone loses. So we've heard some feedback from families saying it's nice to get their kids sitting down at the table with the parents and doing something collaboratively, opposed to that like one-on-one competition where, maybe a child's upset at the end because they didn't win. This is one that everyone can win.
Right. And I think that goes with Bitcoin's ethos because that's inherently collaborative.
Yeah,
like when you
absolutely.
talk about the distributed ledger, the nodes that's, scattered across the entire earth, everybody is using their node to validate the transactions together. Yeah. So that's another component.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. There's a lot of little lessons that can be learned, not only from playing the game, but like you said, from Bitcoin in general. So there's some, like you said, when we've talked to families who have played, sometimes we hear things that we never even thought of, just like little tidbits, or every once in a while you hear of people or families who've kind of put a slight twist on the game in one way or another. So there's different ways to go about it, which is part of the beauty of it.
Now, how does the difficulty adjustment work in this game? Because we know from the actual blockchain is, when there's more, miners and they're working on figuring out this puzzle, they make it harder, right? So they make the puzzle harder to solve so it can hit that sweet target of 10 minutes, every 10 minutes that, Bitcoin is mined. How does that work in your game?
Yeah, so in our game, if you visualize all the cards laying down, which is obviously a little hard to do here, but essentially you'd have all the nonces laid down. Before you start, you essentially kind of choose how difficult you can ultimately make it be. So if you're kind of the younger kids, there's make it a little easier. If you want to really spice things up, you can make it a lot harder. But essentially, we have a set of cards. They're difficulty adjustment cards. So it starts by having one laid down with all those other proper monster characters. If the player flips over one of the difficulty adjustments, you have to add another one into that pile that's laid down there. So you're essentially adding more cards in to make it harder for the players to remember where the correct nonce is found. Obviously, with Bitcoin mining, like you're touching on, it can go harder or easier. It can go both ways. In the case of our game, it can really only get harder. But it still kind of shows how there's that concept in play there.
Yeah. You're actually increasing the difficulty. Yeah. Finding the matching cards.
Exactly.
Cool. So talk a little bit about your background. Have you guys always been working in card games, board game industry, or how did this come about?
Yes, I can take this one first. So my background has always been in helping people, particularly helping people prepare for their careers. So I have a master's in social work, and right now I help high school students who have various disabilities, autism, deaf, blind, any type of disability, and I help them transition out of high school into whatever it is they want to do in order to be successful. And that can really be anything. It's very individualized. But why I love that job is that I'm able to give people control of what their life is and do something that's really rewarding that helps them. And that ultimately fuels and helps me. So it's not too far of a stretch that when Scott was talking about Bitcoin back in, 2017 is really when it kind of started.
Yeah,
2019, 17. Yeah. When we really started talking about it, honestly, I didn't have very much interest or knowledge of it, but Scott really was, and he can touch base on more on that. But flash forward quite a few years when Scott came to me and wanted to create a way, and at the time we didn't know it was going to be a card game or a book, but create a way that we could start teaching our daughter about Bitcoin, because it's something that's really important to us in our life, and that we could also start teaching other individuals about Bitcoin and letting them, control their future a little bit more, and we could help them that way. I was instantly really interested, because it's always been a passion of mine in career and in my personal life. So I did a bit of research, and we found out that there's really nothing on the market in the kids space to teach Bitcoin. We're a bit early ourselves to it, but nothing on the market was there. So we jumped right in and did it. And the feedback has been there's just no way to talk about it. It's been so phenomenal, like meeting people at meetups or, meeting families online or in person at conferences. It's been incredible. So yeah, it's lovely to just work with families and give them, the opportunity to learn in a fun way.
Yeah, and going back to part of your question, we've never had any experience, manufacturing a board or card game. So we learned that all from scratch, essentially.
Wow. YouTube? You learn everything from YouTube.
We did.
YouTube and Google.
Yeah, just Google and
make a card game.
Testing the first versions of the game we just made on, drawing little things on index cards and practicing the gameplay. And, it morphed a lot from that first version into what it is today. But it was
actually talk about that process, because I know a lot of people, they don't know the process of creating a game and actually getting it to a place where you can sell it and, have all different characters and the graphics. So could you, if you have time to walk us through that?
Yeah, it was, I think part of the process, not only, you have a concept, obviously, and some sort of random gameplay. In our case, we started, like I said, jotting the gameplay down on index cards, because we knew it would turn into a card game. One of the hardest parts was, if you go back to those early versions, if you're thinking about things like, what do we have here? Like, you have the cards that are, so these are the block cards. So as you're building the blockchain, and they would go up. So here's the block height of 6. Being able to have the game be realistic, but not overly cumbersome. So having those index cards had things like, okay, what's the actual date stamp that this block was done? A lot of data and information was on it, and it was just too overwhelming. So as we tested things out in the gameplay, that's when we circled back around to, memory is much easier when you're looking at things that are visual, like a monster. So that's when we started kind of coming up with the ideas for what are now kind of our Bitcoin monsters, and creating those. So kind of what from an evolution of being the cards being kind of heavily data based, which Bitcoin really is, to being that image based like it is here today. And then from there it was, okay, we got to find a graphic designer to take this idea out of our heads.
Yeah.
That was another process that we've never really done before. But that took a few months, and then, ultimately, okay, who's going to actually print and make these games, which was also another learning experience. But, you go through it. Like you said, Google is your friend.
A lot of late nights, like after our, 9 to 5 jobs, sitting on the couch doing this type of work together.
Yeah. And then there was a lot of waiting anticipation when that first shipment ultimately came, and opening the first box to say, okay, did it actually print off properly? And is the card stock as heavy as we wanted? But it all, knock on wood, it all worked out well.
Cool. So what distributors do you use? Can I get it at Target, Walmart, or how can we get our hands on this?
Yeah, hopefully one day we're on all those places.
Yeah, we would love to. Right now, it's our website. So and we just launched on Amazon. So you can find the card game on Amazon as well. But we do have a card game and a book, and both of those are on our website. So it's still just the two of us, and we hand pack every order. I write a personal thank you note on every order. So it's just a very much like homegrown business, but it is growing. And hopefully one day we're in some of those bigger realtor.
Yeah. So we have, like you said, we have the game, we have the book. So we launched Goodnight Bitcoin about 2 months ago now. So as a way, like we said, the game is nice for that, 4 on up through to adults. So the book is really targeted at that, okay, the family of the even younger kids, to be able to have something in their hands to start that education. And then just this week, we partnered up with another company called Sats Ledger. And so they have a kids ledger product that now we're reselling through our Shamory website as well, to be able to have all products live in one spot, and kind of being able to bundle it together. So whether it's ideas coming directly from us, or if people have ideas that they have in mind, we're open to partnerships and different ways to work together and collaborate.
Awesome. So after, players play this game and get familiar with it, what do you hope for them to take away after this game, or learn about Bitcoin, or what takeaways?
Do we take it?
Go.
I'll go first.
I'll join in after.
I guess the main thing is, whether it's the next day, the next year, or 10 years from now, that the next time they circle back around to hearing the word Bitcoin again, or wanting to learn about it, or seeing a news article or whatever about it, the fact that they played the game or read the book lends a sense of comfort in them being able to say, okay, this isn't some scary new technology. This is something that when I was 4 or 14 or 40, doesn't matter. And we've heard about a grandfather who started mining Bitcoin after playing the game with his grandchildren. So it truly is any age. But to me, it's that, hopefully, that sense of comfort that playing the game or reading the book or using the Sats Ledger can bring that person, no matter what age they're at.
Yeah, I would say that I hope that it's that families or aunts, uncles, whoever it is that's either playing the game or reading the book, I hope that they leave it as some sort of tool that helps them further the conversation about Bitcoin. So that's really why I have had so much fun creating the product, is that We talk to our daughter all the time. And before we had the Goodnight Bitcoin book, the conversation, it was just conversation, but now it's written down in print and it's a storyline and she likes it. She likes the pictures, like she likes going down the slide. So the monsters go down the slide, they do fun things. All of the monsters work together to keep the network running. And that spurs dialogue and conversation. So I hope that families find that useful, or, individuals find it useful. I shouldn't just say families, but whoever reads it, I hope that they can use it, to further that conversation and help grow their knowledge.
Right. When I was a kid, all I had was The Little Engine That Could. That was the book I grew up with. Check it.
Exactly.
Now we got children's books of Bitcoin. This is this is awesome.
The other thing that's nice is working with people like Isiah Jackson. So he's been able to integrate both the game and the book into his curriculum that he's doing at his both as his kid camp and some of the work that he's starting now down in Miami. So we're excited to be on that journey along with Isiah as he kind of spreads his awesome knowledge across the nation and across the world ultimately. So people like him, or there's some groups in El Salvador and Guatemala, similar type of education space, Dusan, Slovakia. So there's a lot of these Bitcoin education hubs that are popping up that are being able to now build curriculum around these sorts of things that we're seeing more and more, especially over the past 6 or so months. That interest seems to be growing, which is awesome.
Yeah, actually talk about that connection with Isiah, because that's how we kind of got connected with, BBB. And I know that he works a lot with education as well. So how did you guys get connected?
Yeah, so Twitter. I think probably I might have just ultimately sent him a random DM, probably similar to sending you one and being like, hey, I know you're doing work in the space. He was kind enough to respond. He got familiar with Shamory. This is probably going back 8 or so months. So then over this past summer, when he had his first kid camps back in North Carolina, he integrated the game into that space with the 50 or so kids that him and Justin, Bitcoin Vegan, were going through that process. So the feedback he got from the kids playing was awesome. So it worked its magic. And so now, as he's kind of looking to then spread that curriculum into other areas, it seems like Miami's the next big one to hit. So starting in 2022, he's looking to work with a bunch of different high schools, after school programs, and I believe some colleges in the Miami area through the work that he's doing with the mayor. And so he's going to be grabbing a bunch of books and games so that all those kids can have access to it down there. And, hopefully that's just the start of things.
Right. Awesome. And I'm officially inviting you guys. If you go to Miami for BTC 2022, we usually have a nice little Airbnb. So the BBB crew I'm officially inviting you. So
perfect.
End up in Miami.
It was incredible.
Yeah, sorry.
We're excited for next year.
Yeah, we had a great time in this past year. We had a little table.
You went last year?
Yeah, inside the McCox esports room, and we were exhausted every day. People coming over and talking. At that point, we didn't have the book yet, so it was just the game. But it was great to be down there. So we will be inside the Bitcoin Bazaar at the conference this year. So yes, we will.
Oh yeah, we're gonna bump into each other for sure.
Yep.
Yes,
that's gonna happen, 100%. Oh no, but no, what you guys are doing is so important, because it really does come down to the children. And that might sound cliche and trite, like, oh, this is about the kids, but it really is specifically for something like Bitcoin, which is more technical and is going to be even more present as time goes on. Like convincing, a 60-year-old congressman about SHA-256 or what is a digital ledger and all that, that's going to be some growing pains. That's going to take some time. But to talk to children who are already digitally native, I have a young niece, and I remember when she was 5, 6, she was on the iPad scrolling and knew it instinctively. So, they already have adopted this digital world, this digital space. So explaining to them, it's just so much easier, and they already kind of understand, and it makes sense to them, So those are the people, when I go into talks and, do interviews, that's who I want to talk to is the young minds. And they're already taking it up, talking to teenagers. And I was explaining Bitcoin and they were like, oh, it's kind of like Fortnite tokens.
Yep.
That's what
Yeah.
they said, Fortnite, because they rack up the tokens after each game, and they can buy digital clothes and different accessories. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, digital coins. So they already have digital coins in their mind when they're playing these games. So a concept like Bitcoin is not too far out of reach. It's actually more, it actually makes sense more to them. So that is the target. That's the demographic you have to look to.
It's native to them. That's funny. You brought up the Fortnite example. Over the summer, we were at a children's park here with our daughter, and there was 5 or 6 kids running around, probably, say they were 10 years old. They're playing some game of capture, and I was overhearing them, and one of the kids got captured, and he started negotiating his release using Fortnite bucks or whatever they call them in the game.
Yeah.
And in my head, I'm like, like you said, people who think that, these kids are going to be scared of something like Bitcoin are overlooking the inevitable.
Yeah, it's coming, man. I was so trash at playing Fortnite. Oh my goodness. I thought I was young, I was like, man, I still got it. I'm cool playing games. Oh, they killed me so many times. Like within 10 seconds, they round the corner got me. What? I don't have the dexterity like that anymore, I guess.
Yeah,
I was like, so. I was like, y'all have it now. Y'all have it. Oh, actually, so I didn't know that you guys had a book. So it's called Goodnight Bitcoin.
Yeah, Goodnight Bitcoin. We just came out with it about maybe 2 months ago now.
End of August.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk to you about it.
Yeah, no, tell us about it.
Yeah, so this is our newest product, Goodnight Bitcoin, the book, and it is about 2 little monster friends, Hal and Satoshi, and how they go on to create a new form of money, and how some people, are hesitant and they don't think it's going to work, but the 2 of them come together and they build a bunch of friends around the world to create a new form of money, which we now know as Bitcoin. And it tells a story in a really cute little way. It's about, it's not many pages long. It's a board book, good quality, kid-friendly images. I know my daughter personally loves this purple character, so that's her favorite. But good for anybody to read. And the one thing I know now that I'm a parent myself is that you want your kids to enjoy the book, but really you as the parent want to enjoy it, or whoever at night is reading to them, because you read the same books over and over and over again. So if you can, put some information into their little absorbent minds about Bitcoin or whatever it is in a fun way, it's been really nice.
Yep. And there's also, for those who are interested, if you go to our website, when we released the book, we had Bitcoin kids from around the world narrate 1 page each, and then we turned that into an animated version of the book,
like an audio version, so you can listen.
So it's a visual. So it's actually the book animated, and then in the corner, 1 page each, there's a kid kind of reading the lines of the story, and so that's available on our website for anybody to watch as well.
Oh, that's dope. That's really dope. Cool. Well, you guys, man, you're a 2-headed monster over there. I'm doing it. I think, what you're doing is really important, as I said before, about bringing the edutainment and simplifying these ideas, simplifying it in a digestible way so people of all ages can understand it and get it. It's not so scary, right? Because when we talk to people about Bitcoin, like, because I'm talking to my dad and he was just like, okay, where does it exist? So it's just invisible money. He's like, I heard this before. This is called a con. Like my old man gives me grief, but kind of like Jeremy joking. But, when it comes to the different transactions and all the letters and numbers and private keys, public keys. Okay, well, let's break it down into building the blockchain. And we have to find these matching codes, right?
Mhm.
So like these miners, they're trying to basically find the key to unlock the Bitcoin. That's through the matches, and that's through the nonce, and that adds to the blockchain, right? And then if you roll the attack card, you know, the dice, I think, yeah, the attack dice, and that goes, you know, there's more attack cards than the blockchain, then that's a 51% attack, right? And that breaks the blockchain.
Yep.
So, you know, people can take that in and like, oh, okay. They don't have to know what's a Merkle tree or whatever. Like, they understand the concepts, and I think that will definitely help adoption as we go forward. So I'm an absolute fan. I'm going to get my hands on it for sure. So if anybody wants to learn more about, you know, your book, the game, where to get it, or how to get in contact with you guys, where should they go?
Perfect. Yeah. No. Well, first, thanks again for having us and for supporting. We'd love to get, you know, the books and the games and now Sats Ledgers in everybody's hands for the holidays, obviously. So the website is shamory.com. So SHAMORY. So it's a mixture of SHA 256 and the end of the game memory. That's how the name came up. So that's the website where you can buy everything. And then on Twitter, so the handle is Play Shamory. That's also on Instagram and Facebook. We're most active on Twitter. So if you want to follow us over there, and then either through our website or emailing scott@shamory.com or mallory@shamory.com. We're always happy to help or hear stories or whatever it is. Like we said, we pack everything in our kitchen table right around the corner over here. So it's all done in-house, and we'll send everything off your way. And anybody who's interested in watching, you're welcome to use promo code BBB10 and you'll get 10% off your order.
Okay. We'll put that in the description for sure.
Perfect.
All right. Scott and Mallory, thank you so much. As a great man, Kanye West once said, listen to the kids, bro. You're doing it for the kids. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Take care.